What this video is about is sky fishing for UFOs, which is something anybody can do as long as they have a basic camera. I first learned about sky fishing back in 2009, and the basic principle is that the camera oftentimes can catch something that the human eye doesn't see. And so sky fishing for UFOs is like going out fishing for fish. And what you do is you just take pictures of the sky. And sometimes you get lucky and you catch something. Well, after I learned about sky fishing, I remembered the very first photo that we ever posted on our website. And it was taken by an 8-year-old who went out taking pictures of the sky the day after her mother had seen a UFO. And one of her pictures showed a perfectly saucer-shaped UFO smack in the middle of the sun. Because the sun is so brilliant, the human eye would never have seen it. So what I did was I put together that concept with sky fishing and decided I would focus on the sun. And whenever I would take my camera and aim it at the sun, I almost always would see this little orb adjacent to the sun. And whenever the camera was set on a normal setting, the little orb was white. But when I zoomed in a little bit, it would turn blue. So I started calling it the blue moon, which is probably a bad choice because it's a little confusing, but that's the name I gave it. And after that, I got a little bit crazy, and I was constantly taking pictures of the sun, no matter where I was. And any day where it was kind of clear or mostly clear, I would snap pictures of the sun. Now, the first series that I took was from Lake Glenville, from the shore of Lake Glenville, which is in the mountains of western North Carolina. And in rapid fire, I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bunch of pictures. And when I looked at them, here was this blue orb, and you could see it from one shot to the other as it descended down into the sun, and then it disappeared. Well, that really got my attention. And some of the photos that I took, I began to post on the website. And then I began to get photos from other people. And they were getting the same thing. They were getting them from San Diego, California, from the San Gabriel Mountains. They were getting them from Texas, Tennessee, Michigan, and of course North Carolina. And then it got even more interesting because we ended up posting blue moon photos, or these orbs, from British Columbia, from England, and from as far away as New Zealand, which indicated this was a global phenomena that could be seen anywhere in the world. And it wasn't just a lens flare, because everybody's cameras couldn't be having the same problem. Well, then it got even more interesting. Because I was taking so many, I was beginning to get pictures of things that I really hadn't even anticipated. And the first one that I found puzzling was this blue moon, but it had little orbs all around it. So we had the sun, we had the blue moon, and then we had orbs around it. Now that particular shot we took to a retired optical engineer who worked for NASA. He also was involved in the design of the Hubble telescope. You couldn't have a man with better credentials. He looked at that photo and said it absolutely was not a lens flare or a lens phenomena, that we had captured something else. So that gave us a lot of encouragement that yes, this was much more than just a fluke of a camera. The second thing that really was puzzling was somebody up in Linville Falls, which is another very high elevation in North Carolina, had taken a series of 3 pictures snapped of the sun. And there was this blue orb next to the sun, and then this little kind of a reddish tint orb formed inside of it, and then it popped out and was on the edge of the blue moon, and then it shot out, so it was all by itself. It was like the birthing of another UFO or another blue moon. And the third thing that we found very fascinating was there was a shield that appeared between the orb and the sun, and they moved very quickly. We had two shots, and from one to the other, you could see how they both had moved. It appeared that this shield was up to protect the sun, the little orb. Perhaps a shield is put up when there are solar flares or something that might really affect the UFO. Of course, we don't have all the answers, but we continue to find mysteries. And so, basically, if you even have the simplest of cameras, you can go out skyfishing, and everything I've talked about has happened in the daytime. Shooting at night's a totally different thing. And as long as it's not totally clouded over, and sometimes even then, you might get real lucky and get one of these shots. Again, I want to emphasize that when the camera was set on a normal focus, the little orb appeared white. And it would not always appear in the same place. Sometimes it would move around the sun or jump from one side to the other. And sometimes you don't see it at all. And in that case, I think it's hiding in the brilliance of the sun. So I encourage everyone to get their little cell phone camera, if that's all they have, and to give this a try, because when you begin to get some of these shots, it's really quite fascinating.